Hey everyone, and welcome to my Dutch NYX Face Awards look of 2017. This bizarre face look is heavily inspired by several looks created by Mimi. She's an amazing artist who makes beautiful optical illusions. I'll link her Instagram in the description bar below. If you want to know how to create this look, please keep on watching. I started by covering up my eyebrows. I used a glue stick to flatten out the surface and also a spoolie to go through all the hairs. And I also used my fingers to push the brows down and cleaned up the glue on the edges of my face using a damp cloth. I used another layer of glue just to get some extra coverage to conceal the texture of the brows. I used a loose translucent powder to set everything in place, and also afterwards use a cream concealer to cover up the brows. I'm not going to do this neatly because I'm going to add some foundation and another layer of concealer afterwards. Before applying foundation, I'm adding some primer to get a smooth base. I would recommend using a pore filling primer for this step, and then I used a full coverage foundation to really get an even surface and blending this very well using a sponge applicator. So I took about 10 minutes to really push in and blend in the foundation because it's full coverage. So I really went through all nooks and crannies, also the hairline and also the neck. I added another layer of the creamy concealer on my brows and really blending it into the foundation before adding some powder. And with the powder I'm actually going to bake my brows for a few minutes so it can really set in place, and I'm also going to set the rest of my face using the same powder. And after this part we're finally done with the base, so the fun part can actually start. So for the rectangular shapes I first started making some horizontal lines using a creamy black eye pencil. You can use the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil for this. It's easier to use a pencil to sketch out the lines rather than use a liquid liner immediately. I'm creating the line just outside of my eyes, nose and lips, and my nose is divided into two separate parts. I continue doing the vertical lines by separating the parts of my face, starting with the lips, then eyes, then nose. I'm not connecting the vertical lines to give the face more of a dimensional shape, and then I continued with the vertical lines to create more boxes, and again I'm not going to connect the vertical lines on the outside to give it more of an oval shape. And as you can see here, I wanted to make the shape a bit wider, and it's really easy to remove the eye pencil and draw it again. I finished up the vertical lines, which looks like this. It's really important to keep the empty shapes as wide as possible to have enough space to draw in afterwards. And after I was satisfied with the sketch, I continued using a liquid liner to clean up all the edges of the lines and make them as straight as possible. So the liquid liner makes the lines look really intensely black and also make it last longer. And after this I'm going to make the outside boxes completely black. So for the boxes that we're going to draw the face shapes, I have 2 on my forehead, none on my eye area since these already have shapes, 2 at my nose area, 2 on the lips, and also 1 on my chin. And this is an overview of all the boxes. And to fill in the outside area I'm just going to use the same creamy black eye pencil and going to set this using a black eyeshadow. I think this really makes the face come forward, and these areas are also more difficult to create the shapes in, so it's also more convenient to make them all black. And now we finished all the boxes, so now we can start making the shapes, starting with the eye on my chin. I started by creating the outside shape of the eye using the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. I really took the time looking at my own eye shape and slowly sketching it out. So I keep just looking straight in the mirror and going back and forth with the sketching. Then I completely filled in my eye using the NYX Jumbo Pencil in white. And with the liner brush I started to carve out the shape of my eye using a dark brown eyeshadow. I am mostly using the shades of the NYX Love Contours All palette, where I'm slowly intensifying the shade, and it's better to build up the color than to immediately use a lot, so it makes it easier to clean up mistakes. I'm also adding some black eyeshadow on the outsides to give the shape more dimension. I continued shaping the iris using a dark brown eyeshadow and the same liner brush, and also filling it in using an eyeshadow that looks similar to my eye color. And then I drew in the pupil using a black liner. I started in the middle and slowly going more on the outside to create a circle. And using a smudger brush, I'm adding some brown eyeshadow on the top of my eye, which I'm also going to use on my real eye. So for my real eye, I first applied a transition shade just above my crease since I don't have an eyebrow anymore, and then I used a brown eyeshadow that I also used on my fake eye on my eyelid and blending it into the transition shade. I'm also applying the same brown eyeshadow on the bottom lid, and I'm going to add some liquid liner on the top of my lid, so it's more easy to recreate your real eye if you add some extra black lines to make a bigger contrast. And I'm sorry if I sound a bit weird because I have a cold. I of course added the same black liner to my fake eye and also smudged the eyeshadow on the bottom of the eye. I'm also adding the black pencil to the top and bottom lash line, smudging the bottom using a brown eyeshadow and a small brush. We'll leave the eyes for now and continue with the nose. So I'm going to heavily contour my real nose using a brown eyeshadow by shaping the sides, and if you really make your nose contoured, it will look more comparable to your fake nose. And I'm not only going to contour the bottom part, I'm also going to contour the top part of my nose. I started to create the fake nose on the top of my forehead, making 2 vertical lines. I'm using the same brown eyeshadow that I used to contour with. I'm using a liner brush to carve out the shape of my nose, and I'm also buffing the eyeshadow to the outside part to create some depth. And here I'm creating some more depth in the background to really bring the nose forward, and I'm constantly looking at my own nose and trying to keep that shape as much as possible. I'm also creating 2 vertical lines on the inside to make the top of my nose, and also blending the eyeshadow to the outside to create depth, and also using a light eyeshadow in the middle of my nose and a black one to create the holes. This look is really about creating shadows and highlights to bring out the shape. To make my real nose look more similar, I'm adding some brown eyeshadow to the sides, which makes the nose complete, and now we can continue with the lips. So for the lips, I'm using the NYX Ombre Lip Duo, where I first started outlining my real lines using the pencil side and then filling the rest with the lipstick side. And the same goes for the lips. It's easier to make a big contrast and differences on the outside of the lips, so it looks similar to the fake one. So for the fake lips, it's best to use an area that has the most rectangular shape. So I chose the side of my cheeks to draw in the shape. And again, I first started outlining the shape using the pencil side of the NYX Ombre Lip Duo. And of course filling it in with the lipstick side, and I'm constantly going back and forth with the lipstick and the pencil side until I have the desired shape. And as you can see, a liner brush is very handy because I'm using the same liner brush and a black eyeshadow to do the middle part, and also to create some more dimension on the outside. So now that we're finished with creating the lips, we've created all the 3 main shapes, and now we're just going to actually create more of them. And while making all the shapes again, I also decided to do a bit more detail to all of them when time goes by. I of course will highlight the most important details later in this video, so you can add as many details as you want. So for example, I really wish that I created a white circle in the eyes to mimic my ring light, or make the lips stand out a bit more by creating an eyeshadow on the bottom and also adding a cupid's bow. And yeah, just the more details you add, the more realistic your fake parts will look. You just have to make sure that you also do it on your real parts so that it looks more comparable to the fake ones. I also joined the Dutch NYX Face Award last year, where I created just a regular bronzy makeup look. It's still on my YouTube channel if you want to check that one out. And I didn't make it to the top 20 for that year, so I really wanted to push myself this year to do something different and that I've never tried before. So I chose this look because I'm obsessed with optical illusions. I think it looks so awesome and artistic, and this is also why I love Mimi. She is super talented. She creates the most beautiful optical illusions using makeup. I would definitely check out her Instagram. To add more details to the eye, I'm also going to add some mascara on the top and bottom lashes, and I'm also going to apply some falsies. And to make my fake lashes look more realistic, I'm also going to add some false eyelashes on them. Of course, I'm also going to create some lashes on the bottom, which I'm using a liquid liner for. So in total, I think it took about 2 hours to do this makeup, and like I said, the more details you add, the longer it takes, but the more realistic it will look. So we're almost finished with the makeup. We only need to do the last box where my eye is. I'm going to create the lips on that part, so the best way to do this is to sketch out the lips and look at your eye when it's closed. I would recommend to disinfect the lip product before applying it on your eye, but you can of course also use lip pencils and eyeshadows if you have the same shade. So unfortunately the creases on my eye make this look less realistic, and the creamy formula of the lip duo also creases, so I would definitely recommend to use an eyeshadow if you're going to recreate this look for a party. I also noticed after creating this that it's really difficult to keep one eye closed and your other eye wide open. So it might be just the best idea to just keep your eyes as your eyes, but it's a nice different thing to do if you want to create a look for pictures. And here's the finished look for the Dutch NYX Face Awards. Like I mentioned before, I wish I added more details, but overall I'm really happy how it turned out since this was my first time trying it. And I think everyone should try something new once in a while, because you never know what you will enjoy and miss out on. So if you like, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Snapchat, which I'll link down below. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. Take care. Cheers.